Good morning, Khushamadid, Namaskar, Sat Sri Akal, Adab, and welcome to the channel. My name is Kubeir. I am a CICC licensed immigration consultant, and this channel is all about Canadian immigration news, updates, things you should do, things you definitely should not. And I apologize if my sound is still a bit hoarse because I got up late and I'm still trying to catch up and you know, this is what they say: early to bed, early to rise. So I slept late, woke up late, and because yesterday was so exciting. Yesterday there were so many things happening. I mean, obviously with the fact of a big announcement being made, and then the follow up to that, there were so many things that were happening around that same subject as we trying to figure out a few things about it. So it was an exciting day, obviously, and then I got to sleep late, woke up early. So I apologize if my sound is still that sleepy sound. Now, as usual, being a Saturday morning, that's what we do. We'll do a Canadian weekly roundup. We will talk about whatever has happened within the field of Canadian immigration, the processes, the news, the updates. We will also talk about a few other things, which I usually do in terms of pick up one aspect or two aspects of different application types and then talk about that. And then, of course, we will answer your questions. So if you have any questions, and I can see a lot of people have already posted a lot of questions, just hold them back because the chances are I will probably miss them if you ask them now, because I will not be looking at them at this point of time. So hold your questions back. Let's get on with our short presentation because there isn't much this week, honestly. Looks like they were all waiting for the news. Anyways, so starting with the presentation of the week, the quote of the week says, "Hope never abandons you. It's you who abandons it." And this is said by George Weinberg. I agree with it so much, right? Because if you lose hope, then you basically have lost everything, and hope is never going to lose out on you. I mean, it's always there on the horizon as long as you can keep your eyes on it and keep digging, keep working, keep sort of putting in your efforts. Hopefully, you will then find your objective. But at the end of the day, hope, you should never let it go, and that's why I remain forever hopeful. This is our Canadian Immigration Weekly Roundup, being a Saturday. So please do stay up to date on Canadian immigration news and trends by following us on all these platforms that we have on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and we are also on TikTok. I mean, I am not a fan, but we have to be there, so we are there as well. The topic for today's discussion are the Pnp Draws, the other news, and of course, then we will get on to your questions and answers. The first one was British Columbia. British Columbia continues to be our regular guest on our presentations every week. They held a draw on the 12th of April, but that's not in this week. And there was another draw, which was on the 19th of April. So you can see they're very consistent with their draws. On 19th of April, in their draw, they have issued 174 invitations to apply to qualified skilled immigration registrants. And in this draw, they have sent 27 invitations to people under the qualified or targeted occupations, primarily in healthcare and childcare. They have become quite prone to identifying applicants who are within the healthcare and childcare occupations. So if at all you have that opportunity, then British Columbia might be a good province to apply through. Manitoba did a special immigration measure for citizens of Ukraine. They are obviously holding a periodic draw, but on the 11th of April, they invited 20 people with a minimum, very minimum score of 60 points. For people who are following Manitoba, you can understand 60 points is absolutely nothing. So they did invite. I mean, this was their way of helping out, and this was their initiative to invite people from Ukraine. What do I have in other news? Well, in other news, basically, it's obviously a lot to do with yesterday's announcement, and that's primarily also will take a large part of our discussion today. Obviously, since I tend to be on social media a lot, and I obviously have a big social media team now as well, thankfully 8 people there. And what usually happens is that you also tend to look through the feed of a lot of what other people are doing. And I was actually quite disappointed, to be very honest, by a lot of people who are posting videos, because everybody wants to have the breaking news, right? Everybody wants to have the scoop. So there were a lot of videos especially on TikTok primarily, and there were a few on Instagram as well, where a lot of, I wouldn't want to, I wouldn't obviously name them because it's not fair, but a lot of people were talking about this, the news which came out yesterday. And for people who do not know about the news that came out yesterday, Sean Fraser came out in a media conference and has announced at least three important factors. First one is that the express entry draws will resume from early July. So when it says express entry draws, it does not indicate CEC specific or federal skilled worker specific or FSTC specific. It says express entry draws. So we can expect all these classes of program will be included. The second was that the postgraduate work permit holders, the work permits that are expiring from Jan this year to December this year. So from the whole of this year, whole of 2022, they would be eligible to apply for a work permit, additional work permit, or they would be getting an extension on their work permit, and they can get a work permit extension of up to 18 months, which is also a great news because it's incredible. But the third one was about TR to PR. Now, mind you, TR to PR is not coming back. TR to PR will not reopen. I have said this plenty of times. People still getting confused about it because it showed up on the budget. So TR to PR is not going to come back. But what Sean Fraser has announced is an additional provision to the TR to PR applicants that are already in process. Understanding that it will take almost 2 more years for the processing to complete. The initial target was that TR to PR applications would be processed within 2021. That was the initial target. Obviously, they couldn't do it. Then it was understood that they may be able to complete it within 2022. That also is now clear that they will not be able to do it. So now they have had a more realistic goal and target, saying that TR to PR applications that have already been submitted, they're already in the process, in the backlog, in the pipeline, and there are about 92,000 of them. So the entire processing for it to complete and for it to be spread out over the immigration targets, it will go right up till 2024. So another 2 more years to go. So in order to facilitate family reunification for obviously TR to PR, who will now be waiting for a very long time, they have now announced that the spouses of these applicants who have applied under TR to PR, they will also be eligible for open work permit. Now, this was the news, but this was misinterpreted and it was miscommunicated on most of the social media platforms by saying all PR applicants, their spouses will be eligible for an open work permit, which is not true. It's misinformation. This is something which is disappointing. But to correct that, please note only TR to PR applicants. If your spouses were included in their applications, then obviously you would now be eligible to apply for an open work permit for your spouses. So that is the good news. And the draws will obviously resume. Federal skilled workers, CECs, and the invitations will start coming through again in July. Now, let's just make this a bit. The vast majority of applications that will be submitted once the draws will resume, they will all be processed within the 6-month service standard. Now, when I'm saying all, I mean average. So the IRCC's service standard is that 80% of all the applications will be processed within 6 months. 80%, right? So 20% are still out because of the complexities, because of additional requirements that those kind of applications may have. And applicants will no longer require to remain in Canada throughout the entire time of their application. Now, this particular aspect links to TR to PR applicants. If earlier their requirement was they had to be in Canada, now they no longer have to be in Canada. That's primarily it. But I will talk to you about this a bit more. So connect with us on social media, blah blah blah, Instagram, Facebook, if you wish to, whenever you want to. So now let me get rid of this. Well, actually, we'll just leave this on. Now, leave it. So the 3 important announcements, I'm just going to re-emphasize on this because there is a lot of talk about few things, and that is about the backlogs and also about groupism that Canada has managed to do without even intending to do. Now, 2 things, and both are very concerning. So once the announcement was made about the draws to resume, obviously there have been people who are very excited, of course, because they have been waiting for such a long time. And equally, there are also people who are already very angry, already very frustrated, already very irritated they have become more angry, more frustrated, more irritated because they are one of those people in the backlog. Okay, and they have been expressing their displeasure with the announcement of the draws, because in their understanding, the backlogs should be first cleared. Well, IRCC has also gone ahead, and this is, let me sort of show you this so that, oh, hold on. Yeah, where did we go? Sorry about that. Yeah. So in this media release, which was announced yesterday, they have also said about the processing, and this is where it says. It says, as a result of temporary pause, the federal high scale processing inventory has been cut by more than half. Now, for people who do follow these things and who are obviously regular visitors to our weekly roundup, you will also know that we have been talking about backlogs for a long time. The first and the primary reason for holding back on the draws was to clear the backlog. That is one of the biggest reasons, right? Otherwise, there was no reason to hold back on the draws. Now that they have been holding back on the draws for a very long time, for CEC, they've been holding for almost now what, 6, 7, 8, almost 8 to 9 months, 8 months now. They've had enough and ample opportunity to clear out a lot of the backlogs, and they're confirming it here that in September, there were 111,900 people in the backlogs, and this has now decreased to only 48,000 by March 2022. And this inventory will be further reduced by July 2022, allowing them, obviously, and this is one of the reasons why they are not starting the programs again. They're not starting the express entry again. They're still holding for another 2 months until they can clear a majority of the chunk of the applications. At any given point of time, obviously, there will be applications in process. You cannot expect all the applications to be cleared and only for them to start. That's not going to happen, right? So their initial plan was to reduce the inventory by at least half. They've already done it. They've not reduced it by half. They've reduced it much more than half. And in the next 2 months, they will reduce it even further. Now, also, once the draws will resume in July, everybody will not apply, or everybody will not submit their applications at the same time or the same day. There was going to be some gap, right? You will have 60 days after you receive your ITA to submit your application. So a lot of these people will obviously submit probably in August, some will submit in September, and then it's going to be a cyclic thing. So IRCC is going to have even more time. So I would not even say until July. This will go on until almost August, that they would have enough time to clear out majority of the backlog. So people who have been worried about the backlogs, people who have been quite irritated, angry, frustrated about the backlogs, well, for you, this is also equally a good news, because this shows that a lot of the backlogs have been cleared, and others that are still in the pipeline, they are also, they are working at it. They are chipping away. And yes, obviously, until you get your passport request, until you see movement, you are not satisfied. You obviously think something else. The whole world is conspiring against you. All the visa offices are not working and they're conspiring against you. But that is not true. That is not the case. Some applications just take longer. Sometimes comparing your application with others does not help you, because there are different circumstances. Could be there are so many variables in an application processing. Any one of them could be the reason why your application has still not come up to the top of the queue, but it will come. That's what all the numbers are indicating. So just have that little bit more patience, because light is there. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and this tunnel is definitely coming to the bigger, brighter light at the end of it. Now, in addition to that, but one thing that this whole thing has done right over the last 2 years, and something which I personally I am quite angry and irritated about, and that is the groupism. I mean, I am nobody to whatever, but at the same time, because I do moderate and manage and administer so many groups, right? The Facebook, obviously on Instagram we see that, on Twitter we see that. So IRCC, without having any intention to do so, has effectively created groups within people who are aspirants. So they have created this FSW group, and they have created the CEC group. CEC group obviously feels entitled and feel it's the right kind of. It's almost feeling like they feel it's their right to get invited. regardless of what their score is, because they think they are paying taxes, which is a very silly way of saying how they have contributed. You would have contributed because you're in the front line. You would have contributed because you continued to go to work while everybody else was under lockdown. You continued to sort of come to your work. You did your job, you performed your duties, which was very greatly appreciated as well. That's why TR to PR program came. That's why CEC draws went right bottom down in 2021. That's why the 13th February 27,000 ITAs draw came with a score of only 75 for Canadian experienced class people. So that was Canada's way of acknowledging and appreciating that. Not only that, they then also went ahead and extended work permits for 18 months, and they're doing it yet again. So there already so much happening. But just by saying we pay taxes, taxes does not entitle you for anything. You are paying taxes because you are earning in this land. This land gave you the opportunity to earn whatever you're earning, and you are by that law required to pay taxes. Okay, you could have been in any country and you would pay taxes. So just because you're paying taxes, that's a very silly narrative that people try to give when they are trying to express their entitlement as CC. As CAC, yes, you have been in Canada. You, as I said, in different ways have contributed to the economy. In different ways, you have contributed to the job market. So kudos to that. And that has been appreciated already. That has been acknowledged already. But unfortunately, as I said, that has created groups. With CAC group saying that we are entitled, FSW saying we are entitled, there is that sense of privilege, sense of entitlement that has encroached, which creates unpleasantness, that creates divide, that is creating I am better than you, you are not better than me kind of a thing. Guys, at the end of the day, all of you are aspiring to get a status of permanent residence in Canada. It is not a right. It's absolutely not a right. If you get invited, it's a privilege. Now, as far as fair, unfair is concerned, again, that's again a senseless narrative, because at the end of the day, it will always remain Canada's prerogative. Inviting people for immigration is nobody's right. It is Canada's prerogative. It is Canada's choice who they invite, when they invite, and what conditions do they invite those people under. So people saying that they're losing out points because of age, people who are saying that their IELTS are expiring and that is unfair. Yes, I understand the feeling and the emotion behind it, but at the end of the day, Canada will do what they have to do in order to get the best of what they think from the labor market to assist, to basically help those people come to Canada and contribute in what they think would be best for the country, for their country, for Canada. I'm sure if you were in their place, you would have done the same. But as I said, by doing what Canada has done over the last 2 years, with the way the whole program has been managed, they have been able to create this unwanted divide. And this becomes so obvious on the groups, right? On the Facebook groups, on Instagram posts, on comments, and people amongst themselves, they pass those unpleasant comments, which is not nice, because at the end of the day, just understand, each one of you is just trying to get to your dream and objective, your goal, and that is to come to Canada as a permanent resident. So just support each other regardless of what happens. They are not there because of you, and you are not there because of them. All of you are there. I mean, all of you are where you are because of the circumstances that you are in. And so yeah, just support and help each other. At least you should just be happy with somebody else getting on. Okay, so if you want to get there as well, just do what needs to be done so that you can get those additional points, additional scores, or you can take advantage of whatever the programs might happen when they happen, so that you are there ahead of the queue and getting through with your process as well. So that's one thing that I wanted to sort of talk about, the groupism which has been created. As I'm sure, as I said, I don't think it was intended, but this is what is happening. Another point that I want to another thing that I want to talk to you about is Newfoundland and Labrador. Newfoundland and Labrador, in another news, what they have done is they have waived off their PNP application fee. They used to charge $250 PNP fee. So they have waived that off, and they have also waived off $1,000 application fee for the entrepreneur class. So the PNP for skilled workers, they have waived off $250, for entrepreneurs $1,000. Great move. But the fact that everybody wants to apply, people won't care about paying $250 as the application fee. It's just that they want to have a pathway. Unfortunately, Newfoundland has a very small quota to invite people, and they do invite people based on who they feel are going to contribute the best to their province. Now, another one that I wanted to show you was the Ontario. Now, Ontario obviously is our favorite in terms of the PNPs because there are so many PNPs that can give us an opportunity there, or rather, so many streams that can give us an opportunity there. Now, long back, Ontario had announced a business immigration program, and they had announced a change to that. I think it was late last year, where they had said that they would be looking to invite business immigration from 100 people with the investment of only $200,000, and then that basically went quiet. There was a lot of uproar, and then it just went quiet. So now on the 19th of April, they have now announced that they have finalized Toronto Business Development Center, who is now being selected as an institution or as an organization, which will deliver the entrepreneur pilot program for 2 years. Just to remind you, the requirement for this program was to have to be willing to invest $200,000 in Ontario, and only 100 people will be chosen, or rather would be able to apply under this. So keep your eyes open, keep your eyes on this if at all you are interested in this, because from now on this will move pretty quickly now that an institution organization has been assigned to sort of handle this. TBDC, Toronto Business Development Center, is also a very large organization that supports a lot of SUV startup visa applications. They're also an incubator. So they already have their fundamentals in place. They already understand the whole complexity of running a business program. So they would probably be running this now much better. And so keep your eyes open if at all you were interested for this. Finally, I have to talk to you about one more application type, which a lot of you struggle with, which a lot of you have a lot of queries about, and that is the spouse open work permit applications. Now, for spouse open work permit applications, the main inquirers or the people who are most interested with this program are international students in Canada or international foreign workers in Canada. So international students, once they get their postgraduate work permits, they also become international foreign workers. So there's this big group of people in Canada who are always very interested in this program. Not a program, but yes, actually it's a program which comes under the International Mobility Program. So yes, it does come under that program. But the spouse open work permit applications. Spouse open work permit applications also have a very high refusal rate. And a lot of applications do get refused for whenever people do apply for spouse open work permit. And so I'll just talk to you very briefly about the main things that you should be aware of or keep in mind when you're applying for a spouse open work permit. Okay, because again, it comes under the family reunification. If you are a spouse of an international student, or if you're a spouse of a foreign worker, then I mean, how long are you going to be staying away? Families need to be together. Okay, so as part of this, one of the biggest concerns that IRCC has is the marriage of conveniences or contract marriages. Now, whether we like it or not, this is very, very common, very, very prevalent, and it is a very big scam that runs, especially in lot of areas in India itself. It's not uncommon to see advertisements in classifieds in newspapers which talk about that okay, for example, if I'm a father and I'm saying my daughter has already received an a study permit, and we are now looking to get her married, for anybody who is willing to sort of go as on a spouse open work permit, or there are otherwise people. I mean, I don't remember the exact text, but I've seen this. There are so many of those advertisements from both sides, from the female side and from the male side, asking for a match, primarily for the purpose of being able to come to Canada. Now, obviously, IRCC or Canadian embassies also have copies of those ads, and they're wary as to how much people are trying to abuse the system to get to Canada. And therefore, when they're conducting their assessment for spouse open work permit applications, their biggest criteria is to check the genuineness of the marriage, if this relationship is actually genuine. So whenever you are applying for your spouse open work permit, please do provide documentation that validate your relationship, that show that this is a genuine relationship. So chat histories, call histories, shared expenses, joint bank accounts, joint owned property, lease, rental agreement if you were living together, insurance policies if you have them, showing each other as your beneficiaries, fixed deposits together. All of these are in combination good proof to show that this is a genuine relationship. In addition to that, A lot of people forget that they still need to prove that they are applying for a temporary residence, which basically means they will indeed return back. So their own ties to home country become very, very important. So you must provide those details as well. So ties to home country would be in terms of what is your ongoing employment? Do you have any real estate property in your name? Do you have family who you really need to take care of later on? So you will still need to substantiate that you will be returning back after your temporary residence. After that, another important factor is finances, again, which is sometimes either people don't understand this well, or they sort of get misguided. Now, there is no dollar amount to how much finances you should be able to show. So for all such purposes, go with the LICO amount. LICO basically is low income cutoff. That is the number which the Canadian government assigns as to the basic cost of standard of living. So depending on your family size, you would be able to get a dollar amount, and always look for a 6 months. So that is what the proof of funds for express entry is. So if you're really confused, always go to always go to the proof of fund requirement page from express entry and go with that dollar amount to show how much money you should show. So if it's an international student who's your spouse in Canada, and you are a spouse who's coming on an open work permit, between you and your spouse, you should be able to show enough funds that you can manage and survive in Canada, because you're coming in an open work permit. You don't have a job. You may find a job, you may not find a job. How are you going to manage in Canada during that period of time? And therefore, the requirement of funds and finances. Even if you are a spouse of an international foreign worker, between you and your spouse, you should be able to show that you have enough funds available. Your spouse may be obviously working. Your spouse will have to show their employment letter, their 3 to 4 pay stubs, and that employment letter should have duties and responsibilities that should match with not 0A or B. And all of this in combination will also prove whether the person has a job, can take care of you, has the finances. In addition to that, supplement that with funds in your account. This eligibility criteria has been stated under LMIA exemption code C41, that is for the international foreign workers, and C42, that is for international students in Canada. If you are confused, always Google, always search exemption code C41 or C42 LMIA exempt, and you will be able to see the details or eligibility criteria which you should be able to establish in order for yourself to get your approval. Also understand that your spouse who's in Canada, who's an international student or a foreign worker, they should have their existing permit valid for at least 6 months in order for IRCC to give you an approval. So if their study permit or work permit is expiring inside 6 months, then you will not get an approval. Okay. And the last factor is how much time does it take? Well, this was one of those categories of people which was really, really ignored throughout 2021, where the processing time for these work permits have shot through the roof and gone to 12, 14, 16 months in some cases. But thankfully, they are now slowly coming back to more acceptable numbers. As of right now, they're about 8 months processing time. Hopefully, it will reduce further. Under normal times, under normal circumstances, it would be between 2 to 3 months at most to get an approval for your spouse open work permit. Now, another question which usually comes up is that, can you apply for a visit visa for your spouse? Okay, yes, you can. Even if your spouse open work permit is in process, you can, if you wish to apply for a visit visa, you can apply for a visit visa. The decision of the visit visa, approved or refused, will not create any problems for you in your spouse open work permit. So you don't have to worry about it. Now, another benefit is that if you do get an approval of a visit visa and your spouse comes to Canada, then your spouse can obviously flagpole and go to the US-Canada border and apply for the open work permit, spouse open work permit at the border itself by flagpoling. That is also absolutely acceptable, because the work permit will be issued immediately over the counter once it is approved, and the individual can then start working instead of having to wait for 2, 3, 4 months till the application is processed. This is basically what comes under the requirements for spouse open work permit. I've covered all the aspects of it. As I said, always do your research, figure out what is required. And once you've established that, prepare good applications. There is no requirement for an SOP. People keep asking, what is this SOP? There is no SOP for a spouse open work permit. There is no statement of purpose. Yes, your spouse in Canada can give you an invitation letter. You, in your letter of explanation, can express and show why do you wish to come to Canada and what are your credentials that will enable you to find a kind of an employment that you're looking for in Canada. But always emphasize that the main purpose of coming to Canada is to reunite with your family, to reunite with your spouse. for their mental well-being, for your mental well-being. And then in the process, if you find a job because of your credentials and because of your eligibility, then it would be only a bonus in this, because you do intend to then use your Canadian work experience for your exposure, for your experience, and then take that experience back to your home country and utilize it over there. So that becomes the way you would explain this application and present it. And I wish you all the best with that. Well, that's basically all I had in terms of what I wanted to talk to you. Yeah, we're going to get on to the question and answer. Before we get to do that, please subscribe to the channel. That's where the subscribe button is. Hit on it. And obviously smash the like button, Hulk smash it, so that we can get this video out to more and more people, so they obviously get to know the information that you are getting in today. And now we will get on with the questions, right? There are plenty of questions here. As I said, hold your questions, otherwise I will miss them, but let's see. First one is Ajay. I already have a PCC from India, which was issued in Jan 2022. US PCC was issued in December. It doesn't have an expiry date. It will be 7+ months. In July, do I need a new PCC? Okay. If you are in a country, so a police clearance issued by the country where you are a resident of. So if you're residing in India and you get a PCC from India, your police clearance is valid for 6 months or otherwise stated on the PCC. So if the PCC states that this is valid only for 3 months, then the 3 months validity takes over. Okay. But if it is not stated, then the PCC from your country of residence, wherever you're residing, that is valid for 6 months. Any other PCC that you have applied for from any other country, from outside that country, remains valid until your next visit to that country. So if you do not live in USA anymore, but you need a PCC from that, apply for the PCC while being outside that country, outside USA. And that PCC will remain valid. There is no validity date anymore, or there no validity date on that. The PCC will remain valid until you go to that country, until you go to USA next. And the day you land in USA, after that, that PCC becomes invalid, which basically means if you go only for 2 days, even for 1 day, you return, you go to USA and come back, you then need to reapply. You need to get another PCC. Okay, so that is the validity period of the police clearance. As per the mandate letter, there should be some changes in express entry, which gives benefit to international students and temporary foreign workers. As per you, will it be necessary to achieve target of 1.8 lakh of FHS? I'm not sure where you got that number of 1.8 lakh of FHS. I think you need to check your numbers first of all. The mandate letter has been given, which instructs the immigration minister to provide or expand pathways within the express entry to provide more pathways for the international students and foreign workers. The numbers have not been given. The conditions have not been given. That is the discretion of the immigration minister in conjunction with the IRCC to identify and figure out which pathways will be beneficial for the country, for people, and obviously to achieve the targets. 1.8 lakh, there is no such target of 1.8 lakh. I think you need to get the number checked, because I think for this year, for 2022, the number of FHS is in the range of 55,900. That's the number, approximately, give or take a few, if I'm getting that number wrong. And that came down into half from the actual target, because they had to accommodate the TR to PR applicants. Okay, so even if we look at the economic pathway numbers, that is roughly about 2.3 lakh, which also includes a lot of other category of people. The idea for them is not to compensate for these numbers by giving additional benefit. The idea is to sort of give advantage to people who are already inside Canada, primarily because, again, to acknowledge the contribution that these individuals have made by different ways. So international students, international foreign workers, because of the last 2 to 2.5 years of this COVID pandemic, there were so much requirement of workforce, and they were able to sort of help and assist. It was just to acknowledge that and probably give some sort of way of giving back and giving that pathway. In the big scheme of things, it has always been understood and acknowledged that people who are already inside Canada, so again, international students or foreign workers, though they are temporary residents, when they become permanent residents, the transition is easier for them. As a permanent resident, they can then continue with their lives. They can find their jobs easily. They can amalgamate within the society quite easily, within the economy quite easily, versus a person who's coming from outside Canada, who has never been to Canada, or probably hasn't lived in Canada, doesn't have a job in Canada, doesn't have any work experience, doesn't have any background. That person will take that much little bit longer to sort of settle down or for the resettlement in Canada. So therefore, understanding that added advantage goes to people who are inside Canada. And that is one of the ways that they would want to sort of do it, expand the pathways. So far, there has been no news. So far, there has been no instructions. So far, we don't know what those changes will be and how those changes will be made. So that will remain hearsay until we actually, or rather, it will remain only speculation until we actually see more details about this. Okay, we did this. Anand says, we got COPR, but landing in Montreal, tickets were cheap, then driving to Toronto the day after to settle there. Is there any chance of trouble in a PR landing in Montreal? Absolutely not. I did make another video, which was very detailed about your landing process in Canada. And I've also said this, you could be any kind of an applicant, federal skilled worker, CEC, FSTC, PNP, it doesn't matter. You can land at any port of entry. There is no problem. You're a federal skilled worker. You can land in Montreal. You can land in Quebec. There is no problem. Your intention, if you are asked, should be to reside outside Quebec. That is the most important bit. So as long as your intention to reside, to live, to settle in Canada is outside Quebec, you will be fine. There will be no problem at all. Tons and tons of people have done it. So don't worry about it. I have 460 CRS score, will apply to CEC. What impacts of pre or post marriage will I have on my application? What will be a suggestion? Well, if you get married before you submit your application, then obviously you need to update your spouse. That could change your CRS score. If your new CRS score, even after receiving an ITA, is less than the drawn score, then you should not continue. Your application will be refused. Now, if you get married after you have submitted your application to IRCC, and submitting, a lot of people get confused. Creating an express entry profile is not called making an application or submitting an application. It is just an expression of interest. It's just creating an express entry profile. After you get an ITA, after you upload all the documents, after you've paid the fee to IRCC and submitted your application and received AOR, acknowledgement of receipt, that is what is considered as having applied to IRCC. So if you get married after your application to IRCC, at that point of time, there will be no effect on your PR application. Your scores will not be recalculated. And you will simply inform IRCC about your change in marital status and then follow the directions. Add the documents, add the forms that IRCC will send you, and add your spouse to your application and live happily ever after. AOR, OILP, all passed, only security check pending. I suppose my PCC expired as it was issued in August 2021. Should I get a new PCC and upload it as soon as possible or wait for an ADR? Well, if obtaining a PCC is a difficult process and it is not very expensive, then yes, go ahead and initiate it. Go ahead and sort of, work on it so that you have it ready if IRCC will ask you for it. If you are September 2021 AOR, I don't think you would be asked for an PCC. In their understanding, when IRCC evaluates the criminality checks, they think or they assume the validity of the criminality check to be of 1 year, unless there is some drastic change there. So you will not be asked for a police clearance requirement at all. You will not be asked for a PCC. So if you want, you can actually wait to receive your ADR if at all you can wait. Should I marry now or wait for my PR? Okay, it's entirely up to you. It's one of those laddus, you'll only come to know after you've eaten it, right? I will complete my 1 year Canadian experience next month. So getting married before CEC application is good, or adding spouse after my PR? Well, I have just explained that in detail. Just sort of, if you haven't heard me out, then just watch this video from a little bit forward. I am expecting Ontario nomination any moment, which will add 600 points. If I get ITA in month of May, when can I reasonably expect PPR? Well, expect PPR within 5 to 8 months, I guess, at this point of time. Express entry PR category, biometric, 10 months, PPR. When is it expected? Well, hopefully within this year. I have applied for TR to PR in essential worker stream and July. When can I expect my PR? Hopefully before 2024. That is what IRCC has said, that it will take them until 2024 to clear out majority of the to clear out all TR to PR applications. I'm on a study visa. I have 490 points. My question is that, is there any benefit that I am in Canada? I'm not sure what kind of benefit if you're looking for. If you have completed your studies, then you will get those additional points for studies. But physically being in Canada will not give you any advantage. If you're a federal skilled worker, you're a federal skilled worker. Regardless of where you are, your application will be processed as a federal skilled worker. Just because you're physically present in Canada, that does not give you any advantage, except for the fact that when your application is finalized and it has been processed, then you would be eligible for virtual landing. So there is no need for you to send your passport for stamping and do your first entry at the airport or flagpole. Nothing of that sort anymore. You will simply just request for virtual landing, and once you get your virtual landing process done, you will get your COPR by email. So that is your benefit for being in Canada. As per yesterday's announcement, does this mean there would be no Ontario tech draw till July? I'm not sure how do people start taking one news and connecting other things to it and start assuming and speculating without absolutely no. I mean, what is the basis of saying that does this mean there would be no? I mean, why would it mean there is no Ontario tech draw or there is a tech draw? Maybe it will not even happen in July. Maybe it will not happen in August. Maybe it will not happen in September. It is entirely on discretion of discretion of Ontario when they conduct a draw. They have never given any timeline. So just basing the assumptions because of this announcement being made doesn't make any sense. If they wanted to, they can conduct a draw tomorrow. If they wanted to, they will not conduct a draw until the end of the year. It's entirely dependent on what they wish to do. Even if express entry draws were to happen, and Ontario knows that very well, the scores are going to be very, very high. So they're not looking to target that higher segment of people. On the contrary, if Ontario was smart, if they wanted the higher CRS scorers, they would do a draw now, so that everybody who will get an invitation, they will still go ahead with Ontario, because nobody wants to take a chance and wait with express entry. So why wouldn't you think like this instead of only speculating that there will be no draw? But again, you and I, we can only speculate that nobody knows when the Ontario draw will happen. Any update on fast track work permits? 54 weeks is the current timeline. No, I mean, I don't have any updates. If you are from India, then yes, the timelines are still long. But no, I have seen applications being processed from India. I have seen applications for fast track, which is GSS or GTS, Global Talent Stream or Global Skill Strategy, applications being processed within 3 to 4 months now, sometimes even less. I have raised multiple web forms and even wrote an email since 10th of April to Delhi Immigration asking for timeline extension on my passport due renewal. No response yet, which is quite normal. There is nothing new about that. But raising multiple web forms is also not going to give you an answer. But IRCC is known to not be as responsive, because the reason is so many people are sending so many web forms. You yourself are saying you're sending multiple web forms. Imagine if everybody is sending multiple web forms for every small thing. It basically means it's clogging the entire queue of the people who action the web forms, which basically means when you have an urgent action or urgent information, just like what you are having now, it gets pushed right back to the end of the queue, and it takes time. So unfortunately, you will have to wait for a response. I mean, I do not know what your issue is or what the query is, but whatever that request that you have sent to IRCC for a web form, you will have to wait until you get it. Recent announcements mentioned the new applicant will be processed in 6 months, but what about Jan to June applicant? Well, I think I already did explain that earlier when I was talking about backlogs. Last year, postgraduate work permit expired due to a passport expiry. I renewed my passport, but I applied under the 18-month policy. I was issued only 12 months work permit. Can I apply under work permit policy, public policy this time? I don't know at this point of time, because we are still waiting for more clarity to come from IRCC. Whether they will give extensions to people who applied under the work permit under the previous public policy or not. Until we get that clarity, there is no way anybody can say who will be allowed and who will not be allowed. Accompanying partner in TR2PR applications, submitted docs as per ADR. Can I be eligible or apply for open work permit as per latest announcement when spouse open work permit is in progress since July 2020? Can it be a dual intent? Yes, it will definitely be a dual intent. If you have a temporary residence visa application you're applying for, while you also have a permanent residence application, it will be a dual intent. Can you apply for a new open work permit? Yeah, whenever they do announce the final criteria and the application process, if you wish to, then you would be eligible to apply. Yes. Yesterday's summary mentioned, it says expired postgraduate work permits between January 2022 to December 2022 will be eligible for 18 months. But contrasting same statement says Jan 31, 2022, mine expires in Jan 5, can I apply? Well, Ankit, I know what you're referring to, and I think what you're referring to, let me see if I can find it. No, I've already closed it, I think. Yeah, hold on, we will get to that. What you are referring to, my friend, is this. So here it says, as we scroll down, where is it? From January 1, 2020, no, this is not the one. I keep looking for this. Sorry about that. Just trying to find the exact paragraph so we don't mix up the information. Okay, here it is. Minister Fraser also announced today that a new temporary public policy that will give recent international graduates with expiring temporary status as an opportunity to stay in Canada longer so that they can continue to gain work experience. And this will be given to former international students who are in Canada and have a post-graduation work permit expiring between January and December 2022. So that's where they mentioned that this would be for people whose work permits are expiring between January and December 2022. But what they then did was, as you scroll down and you come to the quick facts, here it says 95,000 post-graduation work permits will expire between 31st of January and 31st of December. So that is where the contrasting information is coming from, and that is where the confusion is coming from. What is the point of mentioning 31st of January and 31st of December when they're referring to the Jan to December? But again, until the clarity comes from IRCC itself as to what they are actually indicating, what they wish to do, what the process for applying is, and who would be included, who would not be included, what would be the restoration period, people who are on restoration status, can they apply, people who have previously applied, can they apply? All that information will be coming in the next few weeks, and once that comes, we can talk more about it. Until such time, we can only wait and see what happens. Do you think there will be a trend of CEC draws separately? Because if FSW continues, the score will be so high. Also, CEC only started during pandemic. This pandemic did a lot of things for a lot of people, right? It definitely gave a big relief to CEC applicants. It gave a big relief to people who are inside Canada's. It was an unexpected blessing in disguise. But do I expect there will be a trend of CEC draws separately? At this point of time, based on all this information, I don't think so. And the reason why I don't think so is because federal skilled worker draws have been on hold for a very long time, and that is from 23rd of December 2020. CEC draws are on hold from 14th of September 2021. So I think the government is under a lot of pressure to sort of release, or rather to give relief to people who have been in the pool as federal skilled workers as well, because a lot of these federal skilled workers, let's say when the draws will start, and let's just pick up this for the time being. Hold on. When the draws will start, the pool is going to look very, very scary. Okay, and let me show you how scary the pool will look. The pool, this was the last draw on 13th of April, and the pool breakdown is as of, let me get this out of here. The pool breakdown is as of April 2022. The scores between 600 and 1200 is all PNP applications, so we don't have to worry about this. This is what most people are worried about, 6,391. And the next one is this one, 3,406 for 491 to 500. Okay. So basically, you effectively have 10,000 people who are in the pool above the score of 491. What that basically means is that depending on how many invitations are issued per draw, there will be a lot of pressure on the high end of the pool. And IRCC is aware, Immigration Minister is, I'm sure, also aware that there are a lot of these people who are in the pool who could potentially be federal skilled worker. Now, how can a federal skilled worker individual have a score of 500 plus? Now, if you are a master's degree holder, age of 29, CLB 10, you can get only 481 at most. Okay. But if you are a PhD holder, you can go up to 495, 496. I think 15 additional points. I'm not sure about it, but about 490 plus is what you can get with a PhD. Now, if you also have a job offer from an employer, you may not be in Canada, you may not need to be in Canada, but that could further add 50 more points. Now you see how the whole dynamics are changing. Suddenly you are in the 500 plus category, even if you're a federal skilled worker. Okay. If you have a sibling, you are a PhD holder, you're a sibling, you have CLB 10, your scores are going to be 510 in that range. So and if you are also a French speaker, again, there is a provision of nearly 60 more points. So there is plenty of scope for federal skilled workers to also be in the range of 500 plus if they so wanted. Okay. And therefore, with that expectation, I feel that the first few draws could potentially be only all program draws, or it could be all program draws for quite some time to come, because in the last internal memo that we had discussed, we had shared bit from IRCC, it said very clearly that even if express entry draws were to resume today, most CEC applicants will not be eligible in those CEC draws because the scores are going to be so high, potentially high. Also keep in mind, when we talk about the backlogs, this year's target of 55,000 is already taken care of. It's already accounted for, because there have been 75,000 people in the backlogs at the start of January. So we already knew that this year's targets are already going to be taken care of from the quotas that would be cleared out of the backlog. So if 75,000 people will be given permanent residence this year, that basically means they already have 20,000 more from the targets for this year. Okay. So all the ITAs, all the express entry draws that will happen from July onwards, that will be primarily for targets and quotas for 2023, not for 2022. So 2022 quotas, consider it already done and finished, because everybody who's now landing into Canada, coming to Canada, is already getting the decisions from all these backlogs. They're all against the target for this year. Now, when you look at next year's target, the next year's quota, let's look at that as well. Okay. If I look at the immigration levels plan for 2022 to 2024, the target for next year, which is 2023, is 75,750. Okay, that is the target for next year. When you look at target for next year, 75,750, because this year's target of 55,900, that's already done and finished, as I just explained. So next year's target of 75,750. Now, this is the number. This is what IRCC will be looking at to achieve from their ITAs that they will issue this year, from July to December. Now, if I say 75,000, I'm just trying to look for my calculator. I don't think I have it here. Right, my calculator was just trying to figure it out. So if I have 75,000 people to be landed next year, I will divide it by 2.23. That's the number I usually use to calculate the number of applications in order to get to, for example, because each application can have multiple people, right? You could be a single, you could also be married, you could also have children. So the average that I use for my calculation is usually 2.23. So one application is 2.23 landed immigrants. So if I calculate 75,000 people, that gives me, if I divide it by 2.23, it gives me 33,632. Now, also add to that the fact that there will be 30% people whose applications are refused, rejected, or who decline ITA. If I then add 33,000 average plus 30%, okay, that gives me 42,900. And if I just allow for a bit of speculation in terms of the ITAs, additional, less ITA, because I remember yesterday or day before when I was talking about it, I indicated it could be about 50 to 60,000 ITAs, but I think that number was a bit wrong. The number of ITAs to be issued for this year would be in the range of 45 to 50,000, not more than that. Okay, so if I become conservative, and I say, okay, 45,000 ITAs issued for this year divided by 6 months, that is 7,500 ITAs per month divided by 2, because we are going to say bi-weekly draws will give me roughly 3,700 ITAs, 3,600 to 3,700 ITAs per draw. That is the calculation, or a conservative calculation based on what I've just explained to you is what I'm taking. If I have 3,700 ITAs per draw, and with this 7570, if I have to sort of look at this number, this itself will take 2 draws to clear, okay, approximately. Again, depends a lot on how many ITAs are issued. Then comes this particular category. So by the time the scores will hit 483 draws approximately, again, largely dependent on how many ITAs are issued, it will take at least 3 draws for it to hit 480, at least, okay. From there on, they have 6,677 in 481. So again, depending on the number of ITAs, it could take anywhere from 2 to 3 draws for this number to be cleared. Also keep in mind, the express entry pool is dynamic, which basically means people get added, people's profile get expired, people are upgrading their scores. There are hundreds and thousands of international students in Canada. Their 1 year work experience gets completed, they get points. Hundreds and thousands of international students in Canada whose education gets completed, they get additional points, because mind you, over the last 2 years, there are a lot of people who came to Canada primarily with the purpose of increasing their CRS points, so they could be getting their 15 points or 30 points for having completed a diploma or a master's degree. Then siblings coming to Canada, that adds points. So the dynamic, the pool is extremely dynamic. So this number, just because the draw happens doesn't mean that there will be no more people at 481 or there will be nobody at 500 plus. The numbers keep getting added every single day, okay? So by the time we have cleared 480 in the score, we have already gone through 5 or 6 express entry draws, subject to how many ITAs are being issued. I keep saying that again and again. 6 draws gone, it's basically now 3 months probably, or 4 months down, and you are now reaching this number of 471 to 480. Okay, now with this, that already gives you an indication what pressure this number is going to have. 15,298, if I say at the rate of 3,700 ITAs, it's another 4 to 5 draws that this number needs to get cleared. Again, keeping in mind that the pool is dynamic, more and more people getting added into the whole pool. So with 6 draws gone, 3 months, 4 months down the line, only 2 more months left for the whole year to finish. And that's when you are entering sub 480 number. And then you can take a wild guess from here on how much time. Of course, everything that I'm talking about right now is purely speculation, absolutely speculation. Guys, don't hold me on this, because we don't really know. Nobody knows, because the draws, exactly when they will start, the date, how many invitations they will issue per draw. I'm just giving you a speculative number based on the calculations that I keep working on over the last so many years, and the data and trends are available. And in my opinion, I remember yesterday I said about 50 to 60,000 ITAs. I was wrong. It should be between 45 to 50,000 ITAs, because the number of applications is what you will be looking at. And with this, I think by the time IRCC hits the number of 480 and below, so 479, 478, 480, you could be possibly looking towards the end of the year, November, December, that kind of a expectation. As I said, a lot depends on how frequently the draws are conducted. So for example, if there is a back-to-back draw, there is a draw this Wednesday and then they conduct another draw next week, again, the scores can drop significantly, because within that short period of time, the number of people entering the pool will be less. That's number one. Number two, how many invitations do they issue? In the first draw, let's say they issue 5,000 ITAs. It will make a big difference. They do 2 draws of 5,000 each. Already the scores are going to come at 480s, okay, very quickly. Let's say they do another draw of 5,000, 6,000 or 4,500. So by the 4th draw itself, they've already come to 480 and touching that level. As I said, a lot depends on how many invitations are issued per draw. Also, since you're asking, there is also going to be the situation whether they will conduct a CEC specific draw in between all this, just to give advantage to people who are there. It's highly possible, mind you, very, very highly possible. But in the beginning, would they do it or not? I personally, at this point of time, think not. I think they will stick with all program draws to start with. In the beginning, there could be a possibility that in between, there could be a few draws that they might sort of put in, which are CEC. And they could also go with the all program draw one. At one point of time, after 2 weeks, they do a CEC, and then they do alternating draws between all program and CEC. That is also highly possible. But again, all of this is speculation at this point of time, just for us to sort of keep ourselves busy, I guess. But we will not know until the actual draw happens. Okay, we actually went more into detail there. We lost a lot of time. Just very quickly going through, based on your knowledge, what persons would we apply for postgraduate work permit benefit from extension? Or do you, okay, we just spoke about this. There is no point. We will have to wait until we see the information coming from IRCC. I renewed my passport, raised a web form, did not get reply. Now, if I get PPR, what should I do? Well, nothing. Just send both your passports, the new passport and the old passport together. There is no problem whatsoever. Don't worry. Why no mention of PNP application backlogs? Have been waiting 2021 since we submitted our applications, yet no PPR. How much longer? I mean, first of all, have a bit more patience. Everybody has been waiting. You are still early 2021. You probably have completed just 1 year. There are people from 2018, 2019 as well. And it's about why no mention. The mention is of PR applications. Why should they mention separately about PNP or express entry or this one or that one? They know this is the processing inventory. They know what they have to complete, and just the way other applications are being completed, so are PNP applications as well. So I'm sure yours should be somewhere around the corner as well. Just need a little bit more patience. Hopefully soon you will be getting your ADR, and from there on your PPR. Does 456 stand a chance? Absolutely unlikely. My profile is going to expire mid of July with CRS of 485. Should I delete the profile now or create a new one? Well, it's a judgment call. Definitely the first few draws are not going to be for 485. And by that time, your profile would expire. So you may as well renew it now, make a new profile now to get the advantage of tiebreaker if at all that happens. Does CRS above 500 mean majority of the candidates have a score of CEC? Well, no, not really, but I just explained that a little while ago. What is the age limit for the Canadian vacancies? There is no age limit. Actually, no employer can indicate an age in their advertisement or job vacancies because that would be considered as a bias. So by going by that, there is no age limit for job vacancies. Is TR to PR come again? No, it is not come again for sure. No coming anytime, anywhere, soon at all. It was a one-time thing. 473 points going to drop in October 10th. Should 467. What could be my chances? I just explained in detail what I think the scores would look like. Like many others have been transferred to ROC. What is there to explain? There is nothing to explain. Just wait it out. Everything is in process. Everything is in the queue. Whenever your application comes on the top of the queue, you would be receiving the notification. We just did this. मेरी मैनिटोबा की पीएनपी अप्रूव है स्किल्ड वर्कर में, फेडरल में पीआर ली मेरा एम्प्लॉयर ने वर्क से निकाल दिया है, मेरी पीआर में कोई प्रॉब्लम तो नहीं आ सकती, मेरा ओपन वर्क परमिट है. आपका मैनिटोबा का पीएनपी है, आपके एम्प्लॉयर ने आपको काम से निकाल दिया है, तो अगर आपके एम्प्लॉयर ने आईआरसीसी को इन्फॉर्म किया या मैनिटोबा को इन्फॉर्म किया तो प्रॉब्लम आ सकती है, क्योंकि मैनिटोबा फिर उस बेसिस पे आपका नॉमिनेशन विड्रॉ कर सकता है. इस बीच में अगर आपको कोई दूसरा एम्प्लॉयमेंट मिलता है, अनदर जॉब ऑफर मिलता है, तो आप वो इंफॉर्मेशन आप मैनिटोबा को खुद दे सकते हैं ताकि मैनिटोबा आपका नॉमिनेशन जो है उसको विड्रॉ ना करे. Okay, same questions being repeated. Vakar, thank you for the super chat. No question there. Sorry about that. My wife already received spouse open work permit. It's expired. Do we have to share the photos, chat messages while applying again? I don't like sharing our photos or chat message with anyone. Well, the call is entirely yours. I don't think if you already have your spouse open work permit, you should be fine. Go ahead and apply. What will be the CRS score for ITA when FSW draws happen? We have just discussed that at length. I have study permit, received PNP nomination. Can I have open work permit not limited to 20 hours? Well, if you are eligible, after you have completed your studies, you can apply for an open work permit, postgraduate work permit. only then will you be entitled to working more than 20 hours. Until such time, you are still an international student in Canada, regardless of having a nomination. You should comply with your requirements of a study permit. Okay, now, as I said, same questions are back here again. While thank you for the super chat, unfortunately, no question there. As per yesterday's announcement, okay, all right, as I said, same questions being repeated, so I'm going to skip through a lot of them. Any current processing time for work permit under the GSS has been 4 weeks. Haha, 4 weeks. Well, the current timelines, if you are in India, are over several months, 54, 52, 54 months. 4 weeks is absolutely nothing. But currently what we understand is 2 to 4 months is what the processing times are looking like. So you could possibly be looking at 2 to 3 months by which you should be able to get your processing done. Please let us know if spouse open work permit kids file will ever get a decision. Yes, of course, you will ever get a decision. They're already coming through. I have received 3 decisions this morning for spouse open work permit applications. So yeah, you should be getting one soon as well. I am from Gulf country and I heard that they extend for Gulf. I do not know what you are referring to, my friend. Checking background showing in GC key update how much tentative they will give. They will take more to give decision. The GC key updates are irrelevant. They mean nothing. They absolutely have no meaning whatsoever. So just because it shows something on the GC key, it absolutely has no meaning. So therefore, there is no way to say how much time it is going to take. My PCC expires in July. Do I need to apply for another one now? I have just explained about the police clearances a bit earlier. So kindly do sort of check the video from a bit earlier and hear that out. Do I still need to have an ongoing spousal visa application prior to going for flagpole? I'm still on a visitor visa. Is it a mandate? No. You don't need to have an ongoing spousal sponsorship application. If you're on a visit visa in Canada, if you're eligible, you can take your documents and go and flagpole and apply for your open work permit. I got married a day before I received my PPR. I have raised the web form to add my wife in the application, but have not heard back. I also attached marriage certificate. Do I need to do anything? Well, if you haven't heard back, then raise another web form and request for information. In the meantime, in my last weekly roundup, I did a detailed section of how you can add the different documents that are needed for your application. So maybe take a look at that, and you can complete all the forms. You can complete all the information that is required, and then provide IRCC with all those documents. And based on that, then hopefully IRCC will start or will initiate adding your spouse to your application. Commercials say I had a basic ADR and again one more ADR proof of income submitted all. I want to know why IRCC just send only one time all ADRs requests. Can they send more ADRs? Yes, of course, they can send any number of ADRs they wish to, depending on how they're progressing with their application processing. They will ask you for ADR at any point of time for whatever process at that point of time they are handling. Okay, same questions. Wakar Hafiz, thank you for the super chat. Nothing there. Can I claim points for certificate of qualification from construction NOC even though one is claiming experience in tech job NOC? No, you cannot. The certificate of qualification points is only for FSTC, Federal Skilled Trade category, and only those people are eligible to claim the SCOQ points. Can I apply for SIN number while currently residing in Dubai? No, you cannot. You need to be in Canada with a local Canadian address. Okay, as I said, same questions, and I don't think I am going to wait to go through them all over again, but let's see one more last time. From yesterday, this inventory will be further reduced by July 2022, allowing us to return to the service standards that our client expect. Can we resume all backlogs to be cleared by July 2022? No, absolutely not. All backlogs will not be cleared by July 2022. Majority of the backlogs will get cleared by July 2022, and the other applications will continue. And obviously, there are a lot of applications which will take more time. They could be complex. They could be requiring more documents. They could be requiring more action for different purposes, different reasons. So that will continue. It could be longer than you might think, But yes, majority, the chunk of backlogs which have no further complexity should get cleared by July 2022. Are you in Canada or Dubai? I am very much in Canada, sir. Okay, all right. So looks like we have some more questions which are all same or similar. Again, no question. I'm sorry about that. Should I withdraw my EE profile while applying for student visa to avoid dual intent? You don't have to. I have not seen anybody getting refused because of that, because EE profile is just your expression of interest. If you wish, you can mention about it. If you wish, you don't have to mention about it. I never recommend withdrawing it. A lot of people feel get a peace of mind by withdrawing it, but it's entirely your choice. My divorce case is pending. CIC asked me for divorce certificate. What can I do? You can provide your documentation from your lawyer, an affidavit from your lawyer. You can provide your next hearing date from the court, and you can show that your divorce is ongoing and it will take time. Explain that it can take a lot of time and you would request IRCC to process your application without it. And also provide an affidavit that says that you will not sponsor this individual, your ex-spouse or your spouse in future ever for any of the family class applications. And that probably would be the way to go. Okay. Received owner operator LMI approval on 16th July. Well, congratulations. Applied for work permit on 30th July. Waiting since. What can I do to speed up? How long is the wait? You cannot do anything to speed up. You will simply have to wait. You can obviously write to IRCC requesting them to, how badly it is affecting your ongoing business in Canada and that you need to be here. Meanwhile, if you wish, you can also apply for a visit visa, come to Canada so that at least you can take care of your business from the outside. But apart from that, unfortunately, you can't do much. You can only request them to sort of do something about it. Well, that's honestly just about it. I need to rush somewhere. So if you do want to make an appointment, then please, that is the link. You're most welcome. We can discuss about your application one-on-one. You can also follow us on Instagram and on TikTok. Please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. We need to see those numbers going up. Thank you very much for joining me today. I appreciate it. And I shall see you next time when we do another one of our live weekly roundups. And until such time, you guys should take care, and I'll see you again.